hyped. It is a feel-good Friday. It is gorgeous out. We have playoff basketball. Stephen A's in LA. He was already DJing, getting the vibes going. A little Hove, Max Kellerman on the tees. How we feeling, fellas? We ready to do this?
No, Stephen A's got to be tired. You don't look tired, but brother, you can't be getting any sleep out there. Getting up for a 4 a.m. meeting.
Man, last night was the first night I got some sleep in 3 days. First night I got some sleep in 3 days. But I'm ready now.
All right, let's do this.
When the red light comes on, he's always ready.
Facts on facts. All right, let's go. You know who else is always ready? That would be Russell Westbrook. He delivered a passionate speech in the middle of the season after a loss, telling his teammates that they're going to make the playoffs despite all the injuries, a COVID-19 outbreak, and losing streaks. On Thursday night, Westbrook delivered, scoring 18 points, 15 assists, 8 rebounds to spark Washington's 142-115 play-in tournament rout over Indiana to clinch the 8th seed. So here's the deal. Washington next faces the top-seeded Philadelphia 76ers on Sunday in the first round after completing a relentless run to a playoff berth that hasn't been done in nearly 25 years, y'all. Here's the triple-double king.
I just wanted to let the team know that, this season, at the time, we were struggling and everybody was doubting us on the outside. And we had to figure out a way to knuckle up and, make the playoffs. Simple as that. I didn't care what happened in the previous games. And moving forward, we had to figure ourselves out, look ourselves in the mirror. I start with myself. And I made it clear to the guys that we will make it.
I want to go shopping with Russell Westbrook. Stephen A., what does this mean for Westbrook's reputation, what he pulled off?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, is this a trick question? Are y'all kidding me?
No.
This is Russell Westbrook that we're talking about here. 22, 11, and 11 he's averaged on the season. Another triple-double. The dude, how many times have I had to say it? The most athletic point guard in the history of basketball, a surefire future Hall of Famer, first ballot as far as I'm concerned. And we're celebrating him making it to the playoffs. I would remind Russell Westbrook and anybody else that wants to support his position that at the time that people were down on them, it would have something to do with the fact that they were the 13th seed in the Eastern Conference and 15 games below 500. That might have something to do with why people had doubts. Okay, I'm just saying. All right. Now, credit to him, to Scott Brooks, to their young squad with some talent on there, and of course, Bradley Beal, for them doing what they did going at 17-6 to close out the season and getting themselves in position to make the playoffs, and then showing up last night and making a lie out of me, because I thought the Indiana Pacers would be a hell of a lot better than that. But Russell Westbrook has destroyed them this season, and more power to him. He did it again last night as far as I'm concerned. Here's the thing. Russell Westbrook. Everybody talks about the Wizards like this team that's never been in the playoffs. Prior to the last 2 seasons when they were ravaged by injury, particularly to John Wall, the Washington Wizards had made the playoffs 4 times in 5 years. They had gone to Game 7 of an Eastern Conference semifinals against Boston. It wasn't like they were off the radar or something like that. Now, Russell Westbrook's arrival definitely has elevated them, and we appreciate that. But when it comes to Russell Westbrook, excuse me, y'all, I've seen this guy in 4 conference finals. I've seen this guy in the NBA finals. But since Kevin Durant has departed from Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook has been out of the first round in 3 of the 4 years. And last year he went to the semifinals. He had COVID and all of that other stuff, playing with James Harden in Houston, and was a man amongst boys. He gave it all he had, but they couldn't beat LeBron and the Lakers. But 3 of the last 4 years he's been out in the first round, and this year's going to make 4 of 5 years that he going home in the first round because they ain't beating Philly. So y'all go ahead and celebrate all you want to. I want to see Russell Westbrook playing, competing for championships. And we know that the Washington Wizards have no chance of doing that.
That's right. They don't. And by the way, they almost didn't have any chance of making the playoffs, Stephen A. The number I saw was in April at some point, it was a 0.6% chance. Mm-hmm. A 1 in 200 shot almost. Under 1% chance of making the playoffs. And Russell Westbrook basically told his team, I'm going to get us there. And he did. That helps. Does it erase every bad thing that's ever happened in his career in the playoffs? Of course not. But it's another little piece of evidence. It helps. And by the way, you know how many point guards have ever been the best player? Let's just take the recent years on a championship team. Almost none. You could say Steph Curry, but let me amend that. You know how many point guards have been the best player on a championship team where it wasn't due to injury? Right? Steph Curry was the best player on his team, didn't win Finals MVP, but was the best player on his team when they won the championship because LeBron had two guys hurt, Kyrie and Kevin Love hurt. Who's on it? Has James Harden been the best player on a championship team? Has CP3 been the best player on a championship team? Why is Russell Westbrook getting killed? Oh, well, because he had Kevin Durant. He hasn't really even proved that he could be the second best player on a championship team. And that's fair criticism. We got to admit what's fair. But it's also fair to point out that this dude seems to have a will to win that carried his team, that looked dead in the water, to the playoffs. Stephen A., let's not forget, he came out uninspired last game, the game before this. And I was even shocked by it, like no intensity from Westbrook. And he was playing a Pacers team that seemed to be playing very good basketball, inspired basketball. They beat a team in Charlotte that had the same energy Westbrook did last time out. That's why you like the Pacers. That's why people are picking the Pacers. But when it was win or go home, Russell Westbrook showed up, and to pretend that didn't happen, that doesn't help his reputation is ridiculous. It occurred, of course it helped.
No. It's not about being ridiculous. It's about people like you being shameful. And here's why. Because you're the guy that feeds that kind of mentality where he's allowed to sit around and act like people are hating on him. That is not true. When has Russell Westbrook been hated on over the last 4 years? When Kevin Durant departed from OKC, we blamed Kevin Durant. How do you go from a Game 7 in a conference finals to sitting up there saying basically you can't win with this guy? How do you do that? We pointed the finger at Kevin Durant. We pointed the finger at Kevin Durant, leaving him high and dry and leaving him to absorb whatever level of little criticism was thrown in his direction when people were looking at his point guard play. We raved about the triple-double. He was voted a league MVP. We've recognized his greatness. We've talked about him being one of the most athletic point guard in NBA history and how great he is. And then somehow, some way, because somebody reminds him of that greatness and talks about how we want to see this greatness when it really, really matters, deep into the playoffs at the very least. You got LeBron hugging him on the court and then tweeting about how, you know what, the haters out there can hate. Who the hell has been hating on Russell Westbrook? Nobody has. The fact of the matter is we all have appreciated his greatness. The fact that he goes 100 miles an hour, he never cheats you with effort. He steps on the court. He goes after everybody. He makes no friends for the opposite uniform. He goes after them like a piranha. We all know that about him. So this stuff about people hating on him, no, you're reminding him, yo, bro, you are here. You're that elite. We want to see you when it really, really matters. We don't want to see you squeezing into the playoffs, fighting for a 10th seed or an 8th seed, and then you go home in the first round. There's nothing wrong with that.
By the way, well, that's mostly fair about Westbrook. That's mostly fair criticism about Westbrook. In the last 3 years, he's been on 3 different teams. And the same thing that's happened happens every year, happened this year again. New situation, new teammates, and it's like first half of the year, he's falling off. Second half of the year, he figures it out. He's amazing as always. So, like, in that situation, you're getting acclimated. Sometimes it takes you a couple of years. He hasn't had that. That's number one. Number two, we act like Russell Westbrook's never been to a finals before his prime. He wasn't in his prime yet. He was green. You would say wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. And they came up short. Was in the finals. Was in a Western Conference Finals against one of the greatest teams of all time, went to a Game 7. So what I'm asking you is, if that's true about Westbrook, it just feels to me that he hears that. I don't hear that criticism of Chris Paul. Chris Paul's been on some great teams, and I don't think Chris Paul really deserves it.
Chris Paul is not 6'4" and considered and as big as. Hold on, I'm answering your question. He's not 6'4". He's not considered one of arguably the most athletic. Actually, not even an argument. The most athletic point guard in NBA history. He doesn't walk around averaging a triple-double. He doesn't create mismatches against himself 90% of the nights he steps on the court. That's Russell Westbrook. And
you're holding that against Westbrook?
No. What I'm saying is that as a result of that, Max, that's the standard. When we talk about LeBron James all the time, if you look at LeBron James' resume, do you know that theoretically we can come on the air every day and literally avoid talk. LeBron has elevated himself to such a stature. Do you realize that we can come on the air every day for an entire regular season and we don't ever have to bring LeBron James up because there's no reason to talk about him because he's been so elite that you measure him come postseason time, the regular season doesn't matter. But we talk about him anyway. Why? Because with greatness comes responsibility. And people are going to chronicle and monitor every little thing you do. That's what happens with greatness. So Russell Westbrook doesn't escape that, nor does any of the other stars.
So, well, except
nor does any of the other
Russell
stars.
Westbrook seems to hear about it. We seem to hear about that with Westbrook, including from me, more than we hear about it from, say, Chris Paul.
Well,
and
Chris
I don't want
Paul
to hear
is
Chris Paul's a few inches shorter or not as athletic. What's that?
He's a floor general.
Whatever your size is, whatever your fast twitchies are, that's what you are. And then we're judging you as a player.
Okay.
It's not a pound for pound or inch for inch debate here, Stephen A.
Yeah,
I'm just
it
saying,
can be.
So let's be very clear. You consider Westbrook on a different level, a higher level than Chris Paul. He has higher standards applied to him.
Athletically, yes.
As a basketball player.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
As a basketball player.
Okay. You don't understand, but we'll come back to it. You can't comprehend it.
One of the two of us doesn't understand. That's true.
Oh, it ain't me. When it comes to basketball, trust me, it ain't me. It would be you.
Cut this tension with a knife, and I'm here for all of it. Philly favored by 7 in Game 1. Let's go, fellas, to the West. The Lakers looking to repeat as they open up their first-round series against the 2-seed Phoenix Suns out west. The Coach of the Year, Monty Williams, CP3, and Devin Booker leading the team in points per game. LeBron has never lost a first-round series in his career. Stephen A. Smith. Have you seen a difference between first-round LeBron versus him deeper in the playoffs?
To me, it's all about the durability. I don't believe that LeBron James is healthy. He's not even close to 100%. And I think that, unfortunately, that's what he's going to need to be in order to win the chip, and to repeat as a champion. He's not winning his 5th championship if he's less than 100%. And he swears that he's never going to be 100% again. Well, damn it, you better be close. All right, I'll throw it at 99. I'll throw it at 98. I'll throw it at 95. You better be up there in the high 90s in order to repeat, because it's too much of an arduous road that he and the Lakers are going to have to travel in order for him to pull this out. Everybody ain't the Golden State Warriors. We understand what Steph Curry is, but we also understand that Golden State this particular season has its limitations. That may not be the case with the Los Angeles Clippers or the Denver Nuggets or the Portland Trail Blazers. Whoever the hell you're going to end up going up against is probably going to be Portland. But the bottom line is that's really what this comes down to. And you certainly going to need all you can do if you're going to go up against the Brooklyn Nets or even the Milwaukee Bucks or the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't believe that LeBron James is healthy right now. Hopefully he can get it together. But right now, durability is a huge, huge, huge question mark. And that's my concern with him right now.
So is your concern that he's going to be worse off early because he's hurt, or as the playoffs go on, it's going to get worn down even more? So he'll be better.
As the playoffs go on, he's going to get worn down even more.
That's possible. I mean, that's possible that happens. I think if the Clippers were avoiding the Lakers in the first round, that's probably that's probably entered their minds and factored into their thinking. I think if you saw that playing game against Golden State, though, Clippers made a mistake. Get them early while they're cold. Don't wait for them to get ahead of steam. Because Stephen A., LeBron, to me, it has nothing to do with whether it's early or late in the playoffs. It simply has to do with how much they need him. With the exception of the series in Dallas, the first time he'd been to a finals with a chance to win, because he dragged a Cleveland team, what was that, 07, kicking and screaming to the finals. They had no business in the finals. They had no shot. But that Miami team was supposed to win, and because LeBron choked, an all-time choke job, fourth quarter, didn't want the ball, they lost. That's the only time I saw LeBron really choke. Otherwise, he was learning. He just got there. Whose team is it? Him or Dwayne Wade? All that stuff. Since then, he has been one of the great clutch players in any sport you ever want to see. He's come through so many times, it's even hard to remember them. And it's not about whether it's early in the playoffs or late. It's about when they need him to do it. And it's also not just about scoring the ball. And it's also not just about offense. LeBron has some of the most memorable defensive plays not just in the finals, throughout the playoffs. He's had some of the most incredible defensive assignments for a guy where you're like, wait, he's guarding the point guard, and the point guard is the fastest thing on 2 feet, and LeBron's a forward, and he's guarding that dude? He will do whatever his team needs to do to be successful, whether it's early or late. I don't see a difference between early playoffs LeBron and late playoffs LeBron. And Stephen A., I appreciate your point that maybe he gets worn down, or maybe if they can finish off some series early, he can get a little rest, heal up, and get a head of steam going and get the chemistry and the rhythm right with the team and integrate Schroeder and AD properly and be more dangerous as it goes on.
Well, I get where you're coming from. I mean, listen, like I said, LeBron James hasn't given us any reason to doubt him. But we haven't seen LeBron in this situation in the playoffs. The closest we've seen LeBron to this situation is when he caught those cramps against San Antonio in the finals when the AC, as DJ Khaled came on the show and said, the AC ain't working. You know what I'm saying? They don't love you no more. They don't love you no more. They remember DJ Khaled came on First Take and said that years ago in South Beach, talking about the AC being compromised and all of that other stuff. And LeBron caught those cramps, okay? He wasn't the same. They lost that series. We get all of that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. I think on a serious note, as it pertains to injury, we've never seen LeBron come into a postseason looking this way. Yeah, he turned it on in the second half, but I was there for that game the other night, Max. That first half, I mean, he was awful. And Anthony Davis was awful too. And I think their health and the absence of rhythm, because they've been compromised by health and had to miss so many games, has really, really been a challenge for them. And against the Golden State Warriors, you could get away with it. Against the other teams in the playoffs this year, I don't think so. So we'll see.
That's the real calculus, I think, or the calculation that a team like the Clippers or any team they might see in the playoffs has to make about the Lakers. Do you think that they'll be more hurt later on because they have to play on these nagging injuries? And does that make it better to get them later? Or does the chemistry offset that? Because they haven't played together a lot recently, that they'll integrate all the pieces right, get a head of steam going, get the rhythm going, and that'll offset whatever, kind of drawback injuries have over time. I don't know the answer to that question. If I were a team, I'd rather catch the Lakers early than late. I think once they get into a rhythm, they'll be able to deal with whatever nagging injuries. But I would rather catch them cold early than deal with them late.
Stephen A., tell me this, because I know you are concerned about the health, obviously, and we know the Suns are legit. They're the 2 seed. How much or what exactly do you need to see from Anthony Davis so they can get the job done here? He's
got to be a man amongst boys. I don't want to see Anthony Davis just shooting jump shots. I'm not saying that can't be a part of his repertoire, but Anthony Davis is a formidable presence on the front court with his back to the basket, in the post, schooling cats. And defensively, obviously, he's a shot blocker as well. He needs to be a dominant big man. He can't give DeAndre Ayton any life. He can't allow that young man to believe he belongs on a court with Anthony Davis throughout this series. And Chris Paul and those boys have been in DeAndre Ayton's ear and preaching to him about how important he is to the success of this team. They don't have a shot at winning it all if DeAndre Ayton doesn't show up against the big boys in the West. Anthony Davis, Jokic, Rudy Gobert, and others. DeAndre Ayton has to have a presence, and they know it. Anthony Davis has to kill that before he gets any kind of momentum whatsoever, or it could give Phoenix even more life than we realize, and they could end up winning this series.
No debate there.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know it's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The WNBA is on its way back.
Playing basketball in a pandemic looks like this. No mask, no 6 feet apart. To put yourself in harm's way is a scary decision.
We are dedicating this season to Breonna Taylor.
The unity that we were able to experience was something that we won't forget and we can lean on as we move forward.
I would do it all over again because it's bigger than me. It's bigger than my teammates.
ESPN Films presents 144, presented by Hyundai. Now streaming on ESPN+.
Vamos! Kyrie Irving spent the first 6 seasons of his career in Cleveland, where he was an All-Star 4 times, won Rookie of the Year, and also won a chip. He then moved on to Beantown, where he would spend the next 2 seasons. Kyrie was an All-Star in both seasons, but the Celtics never made it to the finals during his time there in Boston. And he's now in his 2nd season with the Nets. This season, Kyrie joined Larry Bird, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant as the only players to average 25 points per game in a 50, 40, 90 season. Let's not forget, y'all, that Kyrie's tenure with the C's didn't exactly end on a high note. Also this, he will play in front of Boston fans for the very first time in the series, obviously due to COVID. Stephen A., tell me this. What does Kyrie need to prove in this series?
That he's focused and not distracted. That's all. We know what a superstar he is. We know that he's box office, even though, Max, I don't know if you've seen the reports, but actually the New York Knicks sold out in 20 minutes for their playoff game. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets evidently need James Harden to help sell playoff tickets. I mean, I just want to point
Stephen
that
A.,
out.
The topic
Orange
would
and
be
blue
peace
skies,
in the
baby.
Middle East, and Stephen A. would talk about actually the Knicks.
Orange and blue skies, baby. Orange and blue skies. That's all I'm trying to say. But anyway, let me get back to Kyrie. He's got to be focused. There's nothing about his game to talk about here. Playoff basketball, last time we did see him in the playoffs, he averaged 20 against Milwaukee, got taken out in 5 shots, just 35% from the field and just 21% from three-point range. I don't anticipate that that's going to happen this time around, not when you got Kevin Durant and James Harden as your teammates. We all know that, for all intents and purposes, this brother's box office. I think he's probably the greatest show in the NBA this side of Steph Curry. Kyrie is just that spectacular. And playing with Kevin Durant and with James Harden, we know how lethal they are. We know they should be the favorites to win it all. We know they are the favorites in most people's minds to win it all. So what could potentially get in the way? What could potentially get in the way are distractions, meaning you really don't care about basketball. There's too much going on in the world, and that's where your mind is, and you're really not that interested in playing, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of thing is the only thing that can happen. I don't believe that will happen come postseason time because it is the postseason. And Kyrie understands that he's here for a reason, and he and KD got to win the chip. Got to win the chip. It's a chip or bust. Everybody knows that. So he knows that, and as a result of that, I think that he will show up and what have you. But again, in terms of answering the question as to what he has to prove, he just has to prove that he can stay focused on the issue at hand, which is basketball, okay? He needs to be focused on that for the next 2 months so they can win the chip.
Well, I mean, you keep bringing up KD and Kyrie. They got to win the chip. To me, the key there is actually Harden and D'Antoni, but we can talk and debate about that all through the playoffs, I'm sure. What does Kyrie have to prove here? Stephen A., the fact is Kyrie's a baller when he needs to be. The fact is, or at least there's a good chance he might lead the team in scoring through these playoffs, even with KD on the team. We don't know. Let's see how this all pans out. But I do think he has some stuff to show here, and that is maybe not primarily to the fans in Boston, but to people who saw him join a Celtics team and sort of destroy the chemistry. And you can say whatever you want. Kyrie joined a team that performed a little bit worse with him on the court than with him off, which is insane. How do you add Kyrie to any team and it doesn't get better? That's insane. Might be the most skillful player who ever lived. Same thing happened in Brooklyn, by the way. Until Harden showed up. It was KD and Kyrie and Harden out of control. But you know what happened in the last series, Stephen A., who people forget about is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is the closest approximation to Kyrie Irving in the NBA. Similar games. He's just like a smaller, not quite as good Kyrie Irving. People forget that because Kemba's been hurt. At least the first half of the season, he wasn't Kemba Walker. But I saw Kemba Walker again very recently, and he outplayed Russell Westbrook. And he's the guy where people are like, yeah, he can kind of do what Kyrie does, but instead of being a guy who might erode your chemistry, he's a guy who's going to, build up the chemistry. He's a good locker room guy. He's going to be a leader, right? And Kyrie, if he has anything to prove in this series, to me, it's no. Kemba Walker's one level, I'm another. Kemba does not replace me. For example, Kemba can't outplay him. You mentioned Kyrie being a distraction. Right, that can't happen. He, especially against the Celtics, especially with fans in Boston, Kyrie can't show up and be any kind of problem or show that, yeah, the guy who replaced me, the version of me who's not quite as good, but in important ways better, that can't happen. He's got to be better than Kemba. If he's got anything to prove, maybe that's it.
Okay, let's bring in a guy who played for the Nets and who calls their game. My guy, Richard Jefferson. It's been a minute. Good to see you. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What does Kyrie Irving need to prove? Stephen A. said he can't be a distraction. Max says he's got to be better than Kemba Walker.
He's got absolutely nothing to prove. Right now, understand this. Kyrie's role with this Brooklyn Nets team is very similar to his role with the Cleveland Cavs. You have the ultimate playmaker. Once it was LeBron James. Now you have James Harden. When James Harden came over, there was so much conversation about it. Well, is who's going to be the point guard? Is there not? Kyrie was like, hey, this is your ball. You are the point guard. I'm going to be the scorer. That's what he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like the second year we went to the NBA Finals, their third time going to the finals, he led the team in shot attempts. That's where he feels most comfortable. But he also wanted to prove that he could run a team, that he could be a point guard. And that's what the Boston situation was. I think after experiencing that in Boston, he decided, one, he wanted to pair up with, he picked his team. It was Kevin Durant. It was DeAndre Jordan. They picked their location. This is where they wanted to build something. So then what does he do? They bring in James Harden. So then he was like, look, I feel most comfortable. I've had the most success as an individual player when I just go out there and score. And I don't worry about getting other people involved. I go and be aggressive. Now, listen, don't start shaking your head. He goes and gives you a 50, 40, 90. Now, when we talk about what Kyrie has to prove, he's already won a championship. He's already been a part of playoff runs. There is nothing that he's going to accomplish in this role that he hadn't accomplished already in Cleveland. What is he going to hit a game-winning shot? The only thing that Kyrie has to do is win a championship because you picked your team, you brought them together at your location. The only thing that you have to do is win a championship, and you've already done that.
Well, first of all, you're pretty slick because I was getting ready to jump all over you and say you're too brilliant of a basketball mind. You've accomplished too much in this game. You've been connected to this game for far too long, and you're far too knowledgeable to make that insane, to give that insane take you just gave. But you covered yourself because you closed out with the point. That's exactly what I was going to make.
Don't bury the lead.
Hold on, listen. They're all in Brooklyn because of Kyrie Irving, not Madison Square Garden. They're in Brooklyn because that's where Kyrie wanted to be. A lot of people don't realize this. KD went to Brooklyn because that's where Kyrie wanted to go. You understand what I'm saying? Kyrie essentially followed Kyrie to Brooklyn, even though KD's the man, and he's the reason why Brooklyn would do everything. Because Brooklyn didn't necessarily care to have Kyrie. It's that KD wanted to come to Brooklyn, but he wasn't going to do it without Kyrie, and Kyrie wanted to go there. That's really the story. But that's a different story for another day. At the end of the day, let's pay attention. They were already a champion, meaning Kyrie Irving, with LeBron in Cleveland when Kyrie wanted to leave because he wanted it for himself. He didn't want to be the little brother, or as I quoted somebody in Kyrie's campus saying, he didn't want to be sunned by LeBron James. He wasn't trying to be LeBron's son or whatever. He's trying to be his old man. Then he goes to Boston, and Max pointed out how they looked worse with him than better. Injured the first year prior to the postseason. Second year gets on the court, gets taken out in 5 games, even though the year before they had gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 7 of an Eastern Conference Finals. And then ultimately, he comes there, they get taken out in 5 by Milwaukee. He shoots 21% from three-point range, 35% from the field, which is not Kyrie Irving. So then you come to Brooklyn. Last year, you only played 20 games because KD's out. People are looking for you to be the showstopper, but you end up getting injured again. And now here we go. You in Brooklyn this year. You got Harden. You got KD. Don't tell me there's nothing to prove in terms of, not as an individual player, nothing on the court per se in terms of his performance. But what you can't be is any kind of distraction that people can look at and say, if they don't win the chip, that's part of the reason why. That cannot happen with him. If that happens with him, it's a disaster. It's a disaster.
Not that, Richard.
Well, no, well, no, my only thing is this. You said, what does he have to prove, right? He doesn't have, I don't think he necessarily has to
stay
prove
focused.
that. No, but yeah, stay focused. But what does he have to prove? In my opinion, on the court, and this is where we all agree, individually, his talent. My only thing is this. He's already proven what he can do in the postseason. He's already proven the numbers that he can do. The one thing that Kyrie has to prove is that he can bring a team together like he did and win a championship.
Has he proven that he could be a distraction?
Well, one of the problems that he's facing is the Brooklyn Nets have such overwhelming firepower. They're supposed to
might not
win.
matter.
So that's why, if he has nothing to prove, that's why. But to Stephen A's point, Richard, there is downside. It's almost like there's no upside, but there is downside. Don't be a problem. Don't be a reason the team implodes. Don't let Kemba Walker, even if the Celtics lose, but they give a spirited effort, they play together. Kemba plays just as well as Kyrie. Yeah. Stuff like that. There's limited upside because it's the first round. You're overwhelming favorites. And Richard, I agree with you. To me, the secret sauce in Brooklyn is like quiet as kept. It's James Harden and Mike D'Antoni running what they run, except now their weapons are KD, Kyrie, and Joe Harris. Good luck. Good freaking luck.
Talk about Max. You know why, Richard, you know why I always dismiss Max when he says that? Stay with me, Max, because I'm very serious about this. I'm not saying that you're wrong about D'Antoni with Harden, but what if another coach had a different system, but I still had KD, Kyrie, and James Harden? Wouldn't that work too? If Scott Brooks was coaching those three,
maybe not like this.
If Scott Brooks was coaching those three instead of Westbrook and Bradley Beal and some young talent in the nation's capital, would there be a difference? If Tom Thibodeau was coaching this team instead of the Knicks, would there be a difference? I mean, if Greg Popovich had them instead of what he has in San Antonio right now, would there be? Stop acting like Mike D'Antoni with Harden.
No, but what I'm saying is
Harden, KD, and Kyrie.
Wait,
it don't
Richard,
matter
let me. I understand your point, Stephen A. Let me be very clear about what I'm saying. Why I like them, even though they've been hurt. They've only played 8 games together and everything else. I look at the Golden State Warriors with KD, the team that LeBron basically raised the white flag before the series started. Who can ever beat them? Went to a 7th game against Houston that Houston didn't even have Chris Paul, missed every 3 they took basically, and still only lost by single digits. My point is this. D'Antoni's system run by Harden takes a far inferior team and almost beats the best team ever. Now it's D'Antoni's system run by Harden, but with the Warriors' talent. Forget it. It's over. And it doesn't have to do primarily with KD or Kyrie.
All right, here's what I know. Vegas also thinks it's over because they have them winning the finals. RJ's going to be back with us. The Nets are favored by 7.5. And First Take just getting started on this Friday. Prediction time. Quick takes. Let's go. Stephen A. Heat, Bucks. Who will remain standing? We got Stephen A. here.
Well,
I'm right here.
Okay, there you go.
I didn't hear anything.
Heat, Bucks. Who's going to win, Stephen A?
Bucks in 7.
All right, let's keep it going. Max, Blazers, Nuggets. Which team advances?
This is a tough one. I'm going to take the Nuggets, and I'm going to say that Jokic is unstoppable. They're going to double him, and that means even without Jamal Murray, Porter's going to do his thing. I like the Nuggets in 7.
Okay, Stephen A. Hawks, Knicks. Are you confident in your squad to get out of the first round?
Hell yeah. Now, I think it's going to be tough because the Hawks are a young, talented team, but the operative word is young, and they're going up against a top defense in the NBA. I think it's going to be a little bit too much for them in 7 games. Knicks in 7. They close it out at Madison Square Garden.
They're young, but they're ready. Let's stay with that series. Atlanta Hawks interim coach Nate McMillan fined $25,000 for saying the NBA wants the New York Knicks in the playoffs. Here's the quote. Absolutely. I've talked about that to the team a lot. Basically, I've gone as far as saying the league wants this. They need this. New York, this is a big market for the league, and New York has been out of the playoffs for a number of years. And this is a team that our league they want to see. There's a huge fan base, and they want to see New York in the playoffs. Earlier today on KJZ, Commissioner Adam Silver had this to say.
Nate's a veteran coach. I mean, he knows better. I mean, he's trying to inspire his team to suggest that the league somehow would prefer some teams over others, and it's just not the case. And he knows it, and he's got a young team, and he just wants to get them going.
Max Kell.
Yeah.
Nate McMillan's comments, fair or foul?
Totally fair. And let me say, I'm not questioning Adam Silver's ethics. And I think Adam Silver is a terrific commissioner, and I love the way. What are you rolling your eyes for?
I'm not going to even tell you.
Sentence.
I'll school you one day. I'm not going to even tell you why I'm rolling my eyes, but go ahead.
Hey, you school me. And I think he answered that perfectly. Like, yeah, the coach is trying to, don't get on him. But let me say this. Not only is it totally fair for Nate McMillan to say it, he knows as soon as he opens his mouth, it's going to cost him money. He knows here comes 25 G's and he's willing to spend it. And why is he willing to spend it? Well, look, let's first look at what he said. He told no lies. And it doesn't even have to be a conscious thing. Look, businesses are incentivized by profit. Your incentive is to optimize your profits, right? And so if you alienate a fan base of 20 million, New York is the largest fan base or the largest market in the country by 100%. It's twice the size of LA, which is twice the size of the next market. 20 million fans, 20 million people. And have they been as engaged in the NBA as they should have been over the last 20 years because of the pathetic state of the Knicks? No. You know, if the Knicks advance, the whole league is going to be enhanced by that? Of course. So you know it makes you money. Your incentive. You're incentivized to want the Knicks to do well. That doesn't mean you're telling the refs, call it for the Knicks, anything like that. But the incentive exists, and incentives shape behavior. Okay, so since you know that, you're Nate McMillan, you say it out loud. Now, what does that do? What does that do? It exerts a little pressure. It boxes the refs a little bit. Don't let it be some crazy disparity in free throws, right? Oh, the Knicks are getting 1 free throw for every 3 their opponent gets. Don't let something happen like that. In a close call, is it human nature to think, let me call it for the, yeah, it is. He is doing whatever he can to exert public pressure. Phil Jackson used to do the same thing to the Knicks, Stephen A. Well, basketball's a beautiful flowing game. It's not about, it's not so physical and stuff because he didn't want the other team to be more physical. Nate McMillan is giving his team the best chance, and he's spending 25 G's to do it. It's fair.
That's why it's foul. Because that's the kind of edge you looking for. What's the matter? You scared? You scared of Julius Randle? You scared of Julius Randle, Nate McMillan? You scared of him? You scared? You scared of R.J. Barrett? What, you scared, Nate McMillan? That's what it is? I thought you had Trae Young. I thought you had Collins. I thought you had DeAndre Hunter. I thought you had Clint Capella. I thought you had a crew, Nate McMillan. You 27-11 as a coach since you took over after Lloyd Pierce was let go. You've proven once again you're a hell of a coach, all right? You're a hell of a coach, all right? You got young players. You got one of the great shooters, one of the great young stars in this game in Trae Young. What's the problem? Why you need that kind of edge? What's up? And that's what it is? You scared? You scared of Julius Randle? You scared of Quickly? You scared of Derrick Rose? The re-emergence, Derrick Rose, you scared of R.J. Barrett? What's up? Why you need to do something like that? What you need to do something like that for? How you gonna come into the series before one single game was played in the postseason already complaining about the officials, already complaining about the league? What's up, Nate McMillan? What's going on? That's my brother. I love him. I appreciate the job that he's done. Very, very happy for him. By the way, Mark Spears showed up on the jump the other day, and I'm glad he reminded us all. Nate McMillan, Atlanta Hawks, would you please give this man a contract extension? Would you please make him the permanent head coach for the Atlanta Hawks?
How
the hell is he looking for a new contract? This is his only season. Give the man a damn contract. Now back to this. Adam Silver is absolutely right. The Milwaukee Bucks are relevant. Small market teams, in the NBA's eyes, the small market teams, the more successful you are, the better it is. Want to hear no stuff about New York. If the New York Knicks, if it really was in the league's best interest for the New York Knicks to be relevant, Zion would be in New York because the ping-pong ball would have went to them instead of the New Orleans Pelicans. So don't get me started with that. I'm just saying it's foul because you're looking for an edge. And what you looking for an edge for, Nate McMillan? You scared? You scared of Julius Randle? You scared of R.J. Barrett? You scared of Derrick Rose? He sounded a little scared to me.
You know something?
That's what he does. He sounds a little scared.
You know something? Let me take a page out of your book. That's nauseating. This is a Knicks fan. Molly, I want you to take a good look at a Knicks fan. Makes everything about the Knicks, no matter what we're talking about. And he tries to turn this whole thing into anyone scared of the Knicks. So let me ask you something. When Phil Jackson used to do exactly what Nate McMillan is doing right now, and he had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Was he scared of the Knicks?
Not
Was
true.
He scared?
Not true.
He used to work the refs publicly.
Phil did it in the throes of a series, trying to switch momentum and things of that nature after games were played. He didn't do it before the damn series started. Not a game has been played yet.
Right, even better to do it now.
Nothing has been played yet.
It's
not even
Nate
better.
McMillan is
It's not
shining
even
a
better.
spotlight on a certain issue.
He sounds scared.
And now,
he sounds scared. That's what Julius Randle. Julius Randle scared. Julius Randle got him scared.
And now here comes scared.
Derrick Rose got him scared. That's what I sense. That's what I sense. That's all I'm saying.
Nate McMillan is shining a spotlight on something. And if it turns out the Knicks are getting, say, a lot more calls or a controversial call goes their way, Nate McMillan, after a game, can come out there down 2-1. Well, it's a close series. It's like a 50-50 series. Nate McMillan is giving every edge to his team. So he can come out at a press conference and spend another 25 G's and say, this is what I was talking about. They made 20 more trips to the free throw line than we did.
Since when did a team need an edge against the Knicks? They're supposed to be the little old Knicks.
The 4 seed. Atlanta's the 5 seed.
Right. That's orange and blue skies, baby. Times have changed. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm not talking to this
That's
dude
what I'm trying to say.
I'm not talking to you no more.
Orange and blue skies, baby. That's what I'm trying to say.
Orange and blue
New York,
skies.
stand up. New York, stand up.
Steve, your Knicks had the second longest odds to be in the playoffs, yet they are here. So resilient. The microcosm of the city in New York. We're just coming back.
It ain't just the Garden, Molly. The fans taking over Phillips Arena. We coming down to the ATL because we travel, yo.
You have no problem doing that.
This how it's gonna be. New York, stand up.
The team in New York, you want to know the team in New York is right over, plays right over in Brooklyn.
No. I can't ride with that. Sorry, Matt. That I can't ride.
In Brooklyn. Well, you'll be riding with them by the conference final.
Sure.
Don't worry about it. You'll have no choice.
Once the Knicks lose, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they won't lose to Atlanta.
Hey, this is Bomani Jones. What's your favorite podcast? Let me tell you why that'll be number 2 after you listen to mine. 3 times a week, I'm going to challenge you to keep up with me as I discuss topics from the latest in technology and music, and people getting dunked on. Also, you'll get the very best analysis of the games, and we watch them with encyclopedic level historical connection. Plus, we have got a community of guests that you'll feel like are your closest friends in no time. Listen and subscribe to The Right Time with Bomani Jones Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. 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 Wherever you get your podcasts.